The next generation of political leader in Europe is clear for all to see. It has energy, speaks a language everyone can understand. It connects with an electorate which feels neglected by today's elite. It has strategic patience. It plans for the election after next. It's also clear about what it thinks. It believes that Western civilization is threatened by Islam and that native populations are threatened by migrants. It subscribes to the clash of civilizations and the great replacement theory, and it's vociferously, if not physically, pro-Israel. It talks about protecting a Judeo-Christian civilization, which is an historical nonsense because in the great periods of European anti-Semitism, Christians were the persecutors of the Jews. But that doesn't stop the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu trying to argue on French television that his invasion of Gaza was like the D-Day landings in Normandy. Netanyahu said in French, "Our victory is your victory. It's the victory of Judeo-Christian civilization over barbarism. It's the victory of France. If we win here, you win here." This is much more than just political expediency. Israel has been cultivating links with the European far right, which go well beyond a reaction to the success of those groups in the recent European elections. It has links with Jordan Bardella, the poster boy of the National Rally in France, Geert Wilders of the Netherlands Party for Freedom. Netanyahu welcomes Santiago Abascal, leader of Spain's far-right Vox party, on a visit in May. It even welcomes the far-right Alternative for Germany, which has a long track record of neo-Nazi affiliations and scares the hell out of Germany's Jewish population. It's a grave mistake to view all of this as mere political opportunism. It's true that Israel saw the European elections as payback time for Spain, Ireland, Norway and Slovenia recognizing a Palestinian state. But anyone who thinks that these expressions of support by the far right for Israel are merely rhetorical should look at what is happening. First of all, this is a golden opportunity to plant informers in the highest levels of future governments in Europe. In the Netherlands, Wilders' ally Gideon Makusova had his candidacy to become the Netherlands' new Minister of Migration and Asylum revoked after concerns about the connections of the Israeli-born man with Mossad. But most of the time, Israel does not even need plants. Serbia's arms exports to Israel have spiraled since the Gaza offensive began. The Balkan Investigative Reporting Network and Haaretz identified 6 Israeli military flights from Belgrade to Beersheba since October last year, carrying almost $17 million worth of arms. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić said in February that he and Netanyahu had discussed a further advancement of bilateral relations, for which the Israeli Premier expressed his gratitude for the unwavering support both in word and deed. Vučić is easily overlooked. His Serbian nationalism is unraveling a shaky peace in the Balkans. Recently, he appeared alongside the leader of the Serb-led entity within Bosnia-Herzegovina, Milorad Dodik, to call for the unity of ethnic Serbs throughout the region during a rally in Belgrade. Dodik claimed that Republika Srpska, the Serb-led entity, was committed to the Dayton Accords, but added ominously that this entity would soon have to seek Serbia's support to resolve its status. This is an implicit threat to the Dayton Accords, which formed a Bosnian state consisting of 2 entities, a Bosniak-Croat Federation and Republika Srpska, held together by string, a weak central government. Dodik denies to this day that a genocide took place at Srebrenica in 1995, when 8,000 Bosnian Muslims, men and boys, were gunned down. So it was no coincidence, as the Gaza war enters its 9th month, that the Jerusalem Post published a long and fawning interview with Dodik. It was music to the Jerusalem Post's ears for Dodik to draw parallels between the non-genocide of Srebrenica and the non-genocide of Palestinians in Gaza. The fascism of the European far-right nationalists is contagious. The recent anniversary of an infamous event at the very start of the Second World War also proved to be revealing. In July 1939, the St. Louis set sail for Cuba with over 900 Jewish refugees on board. It was rebuffed by the US and Canada. When the ship returned to Europe, Adolf Hitler ranted on the radio that it was not only the Nazis who hated Jews. "See, the whole world hates the Jews," the Nazi dictator said. Hitler's sentiment about the Jews is mirrored in the debates on the Israeli talk shows and in social media about the Palestinians. Take the debate about forcing Palestinians to flee Gaza, as Itamar Ben-Gvir, the National Security Minister, wants to do. The problem of creating another Nakba is not that this is illegal or immoral. It is that no one else wants them either. Hitler is unbelievably turning up in these debates as a role model. Moshe Feiglin, a former Likud member of parliament, invoked the Nazi dictator when he said last week on a television panel, as Hitler said, "I cannot live if one Jew is left. We cannot live if there is one Islamo-Nazi remains in Gaza." This is fascism, pure and simple. And this is why Europe's fascists are so readily accepted as soulmates in Israel. This goes beyond a marriage of convenience. Israel and the far right have a common Muslim enemy, and Israel has become a role model in how to deal with them. For Israel, however, there are perils in going down this tempting path, because Israel is not in a land where Muslims are a minority. Furthermore, Israelis are not on the periphery of the Muslim world. They are right in the center of it. And this is not 1948 all over again, at least not for the Palestinians. If an apartheid supremacist Israeli state adopts fascism as its ideology in an attempt to find the final solution in its conflict with the Palestinians, it will face an existential moment sooner than it thinks. No greater threat to the existence of a Jewish state in the Middle East is posed than by the actions of its leaders today. And no greater threat to Jews around the world exists now from fascists coming back to power in Europe.